Boys and girls, today we are going to be focusing on the Spanish colony in the Americas. And our purpose for reading today will be to describe the importance of the Spanish mission in the spread of the Spanish settlement in North America, which is where we live, and to analyze or look at the relationships between the Spanish settlers and the American Indians who were already here in North America. We will also be identifying the location of Spanish settlements in North America, including St. Augustine. And you will be learning just a little bit more about St. Augustine within the next few days. Let's go ahead and get started. The Spanish colony in the Americas. Spain conquered and settled the Americas for several reasons. Spain's monarchs or rulers saw an important opportunity to gain great wealth and power. The Spanish Catholic Church also hoped to persuade native people to accept Catholic faith. However, first, Spain had to take control of the lands they came to call New Spain. These lands were already settled by American Indians. The colony of New Spain. In what is today Mexico, the Spaniards fought and conquered the Aztec people living there. They also defeated other American Indians who stood in their way. By the mid-1500s, Spain controlled a large colony in the Americas. As Spanish leaders had hoped, New Spain was rich in gold and silver. Soon, the colony was shipping tons of treasure back to Spain. Enslaved American Indians did most of the hard mining work. It was the Spanish, however, who benefited from selling the gold and silver. Ranching and farming were also important in New Spain. At the heart of these businesses was the encomienda. An encomienda was a grant from the Spanish government that gave a Spanish settler the right to control local American Indians. American Indians in New Spain had very little control over their lives. The settlers were supposed to protect and care for the native people and teach them Christianity. The native people were expected to repay the settlers with free labor, gold, silver, and other goods. American Indians, along with enslaved people brought from Africa, ranked lowest in the colony's class structure. Now, a class structure is a system for ranking people, often according to power or wealth. There were three classes above American Indians. The most powerful people in New Spain were Spaniards born in Spain. They were known as Peninsulars. They held most of the highest government and church positions. Next were the Creoles. These people were born in New Spain to Spanish parents. Many Creoles owned land. Below them were the Mestizos people, and these people were of mixed Spanish and American Indian background. The Mestizos were the largest class. Now, boys and girls, you will be answering number 1 here, where you're going to classify and categorize the three classes. The settlement at St. Augustine. Spanish explorers traveled deep into North America in the early 1500s. Spain also tried several times to establish settlements in Florida. However, bad weather, conflict with American Indians, and other problems stopped these efforts. Then, in 1565, Spain decided to try again. A year before, settlers from France had built a fort in northern Florida at what is now present-day Jacksonville. Spain saw France as a rival for control of the Americas, so Spain sent a small fleet to destroy the French fort. Then they built their own fort in town a little farther south. They called it St. Augustine. Unlike earlier colonies, this one survived. Today it is the oldest European settlement in the United States. Supporting St. Augustine was expensive, and Spanish officials talked of abandoning the colony. Its governor, Gonzalo Menendez de Canco convinced the officials that the fort protected both lives and property. St. Augustine survived because Spain needed a fort and safe harbor in Florida. The settlement was near the route followed by Spanish ships that carried treasures from the Americas to Spain. These ships were tempting targets for pirates from rival countries. By keeping soldiers in St. Augustine, Spain could protect its shipping. Later, St. Augustine would also become an important port for slave trading. Most of the citizens of St. Augustine were Spanish soldiers. Besides protecting and rescuing Spanish ships, these soldiers also helped protect missionaries. A missionary is someone who travels to a new land to persuade others to believe in a particular religion. In Florida, missionaries usually worked with American Indian leaders. After the founding of St. Augustine, Spanish missionaries traveled through much of Florida and nearby areas. They set up villages called missions. The missions had two goals. One goal was to teach American Indians the Catholic religion. The other goal was to introduce American Indians to the Spanish way of life. Many of these missions still stand today and have become part of our national identity. In order to survive, Spanish settlers in Florida depended on American Indians such as the Timucuas. In fact, the Spaniards near St. Augustine relied on the Timucuas to help provide food and labor. So the Spaniards gave native leaders many gifts and did not challenge their right to govern their own people. In return, native leaders led missionaries, teach their religion, and let the Timucuas work on Spanish farms. The cooperation and conflict. Over time, Spain built many missions and forts. In the 1700s, it founded colonies in what is now Texas, California, and other parts of the southwestern United States. As you have read, sometimes the Spaniards and American Indians worked together peacefully. In general, though, contact with the Spaniards harmed American Indians. One serious problem was disease. In some places, illness carried by the Spaniards wiped out entire American Indian communities. American Indians also suffered from harsh treatment. At St. Augustine and many other missions, many American Indians died of overwork. Sometimes Spanish missionaries used force to change the way American Indians lived, worked, and worshiped. Many American Indians did not like this and fought back. One rebellion occurred in Florida in the 1650s. In 1680, an uprising of Pueblo people in present-day New Mexico left 400 Spaniards dead and forced the remaining Spaniards to leave the area. Some years later, the Spaniards returned, but bad feelings remained in parts of New Spain. Now, boys and girls, in your assignment bin online for your textbook, you will be answering number 5, classify and categorize. And what you guys are going to do is identify each of the following statements as whether it's an instance of cooperation or conflict. Okay? And once you finish that, you guys are going to complete the section below that's titled Got It. Once you complete that, you will be done with your assignment and you can give yourself a pat on the back.